Welcome, everyone. We are back. Supernatural Girls podcast has started up again. We have two wonderful producers, Chris and Amanda. Thank you so much for all your help. It's been a dream working with both of you, and we are so excited to be here with you tonight. And we have some listeners saying hello and welcome. And I can't tell you how happy I am to be back. How about you, PK?
Definitely. I haven't been able to harass you for a while.
No, I know I've missed it.
I look forward to it.
I know, but here we are, and I'm just so happy to be here. It's wonderful, and I want to give a big thank you to Jim Brakowski, who is a well-known filmmaker, producer, and writer, and he kindly put that fabulous intro together for us. Wasn't that?
I look that great. I love it.
Me too. But he made us look good, and there we are in the flying car, which you liked very much. And so, yes, it's wonderful to have a whole new.
He did a fabulous job. We're so fortunate to have had him do that for us.
I know. Very blessed. So thank you, Jim. Thank you so much.
Definitely.
And we are going to be talking about predictions tonight.
Yes.
As soon as our guest arrives, it's probably not in that horrible LA traffic, but that's okay because we have lots of things to talk about.
Yes, we do.
We do indeed. So
well, it's a new month and it's a 3-month and it's all about communications. Anything to do with creativity and communications.
Okay.
So we've got the new logo going in. We've got all this going on, all fitting with the 3 that we're in. And it does have a luck factor as well.
Well, it's interesting because you are able to see all the changes that we've made with the show, and they're all good ones. And it feels right. It feels like we're in the right time, right place as we move forward with the show. And so this is the right month also. Okay.
3 deals with anything to do with communications, creativity, and anything to build off of. And it has also a luck factor that goes with it.
Now, let me just ask you a question, because we always run into trouble. I forget which time of year it is with Mercury retrograde. Is that coming up soon, or we're safe for a while?
Right now we are. And I will definitely look so I can tell you that later this week.
Okay, good.
My book tells me all that good stuff, and I try to put the retrograde aside.
I know, because that's always so disappointing, and it just kind of interrupts everything, makes us go back over what we just did. So I just wanted to know, because so many new projects we're working on.
Well, but it gives us an opportunity to review and redo so that it's perfect when it's done.
Yes, it will be. There's lots of stuff we're working on. You are working on your book.
Yes, I am.
Very exciting.
Oh, I hope so.
Yes,
it's going to be a labor of love. Depending on the day it is. When I wake up at 4:30 in the morning and go, wait a minute, I've got to get that. And I get up and start working on it and I'm going, I must be out of my mind.
I know, really. Well, your book woke me up at 4 o'clock in the morning twice. So, yes. And one of our listeners just said, and our show is starting back up on the 3rd also. So we are with that 3 again.
And 3 has that luck factor to it. It's all about the communications. And I guess with the 3, it's a feel good. I think of it like a Christmas. There's always something special that comes from it.
So it's a gift. Good. Well, everybody's going to want to see this new book of yours. I'm very excited about it. You have some really new things in it for people. You've been doing numerology for how many years now?
I started in 1973.
Okay, long time.
That's a few years.
Just a few. So there's a lot of knowledge you will be imparting, and it's a wonderful book. I've read part of it so far, and it's great.
Thank you.
Excited.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
I appreciate that.
Yes.
And with your prodding, I'll finish it.
I'll be lighting a lot of fires under that rear end.
I know I need it, but what can I say?
Yes.
The nice thing about this month, to say being the 3-month, it deals with all kinds of communications, but we do tend to scatter our energies when we've got all this good stuff going around. It's like being at a carnival. You've got all the different acts going on in the popcorn and the fuzzy things and whatever. you don't know which direction to go first. So you're getting a little bit of everything. We had to
Well,
slow down just a tad so we could enjoy it.
yes. Well, I feel that. I really do. I feel all of that. And our guest is here. So should we bring him up?
I hope so.
Okay.
Definitely.
I think
I
we
missed
should
him.
those predictions. So we're going to wait for his introduction. There he is. So look
Hello,
at
sweetheart.
he showed up. We're so glad. Thank you.
God love you.
Anyways, this is our guest, everybody, who we've been anxiously awaiting, and it is Jeff Harman. As you know tonight, if you read the description,
Right.
that Jeff is a master astrology. We call him the king of astrology, actually, here. That's how we think of Jeff. And his predictions, he comes on quite frequently with us, and his predictions are right on. So everybody take out your notebook, pay attention. We're going to talk about everything, right, Jeff? Finances and
Or lack thereof.
technology, everything great. And maybe a little bit of discovery about UFOs. We'll see. But anyways, Jeff, welcome. We're so glad to have you here. Can you hear us? His mic isn't working. Check your mic. You might have it muted. And we do want to hear you. PK, do you realize how expert you are at this now? Look at Jeff.
E.T.
So maybe Jeff, you could.
Oh,
There's a little.
There you go.
You got it.
can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
we now.
Okay, am I good and clear?
Oh,
Yes.
wonderful.
Oh, good. Excellent.
Yes.
Yeah, for some
Yes.
reason, StreamYard Yard wasn't letting me bring my mic in. Yeah, you almost didn't have me today. I was stuck down in Westwood earlier, and my vehicle quit running. And I thought, oh my God, I'm not going to make the show today. You know, so then I finally started running, and thank God it's an Indian motorcycle, and I got it running, and then boof, I took off, and I made it here. I literally walked in the door like 3 minutes ago.
Oh my gosh.
You do good work, Jeff. That's all there is to it.
I mean, what won't I do? What won't a guy do for the supernatural girls? You know,
That's right.
I mean, really.
You're fabulous. But
You
we
gotta pull it out first. Yeah, that's right. No, we're very happy to have you here. As always, we
definitely.
always look forward to hearing from you and everything that's going to happen to us this 2026.
Yeah, it's a crazy time, isn't it?
Is it? Well, hey, let's get started because everybody's waiting to hear from you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we got all kinds of stuff going on right now. The biggest one, I just talked about this on my podcast, is that we've got a Saturn-Neptune conjunction. It's interesting. I've talked to a lot of people. They don't feel real vital right now. And Saturn and Neptune, I remember this back in the 70s. My mother got me into astrology. And that was a long time ago, right? It's over 50 years now. It's like 51 years ago was my first introduction to astrology. And she was a specialist in hemodialysis, which, of course, is filtrating the kidneys, right? And she took a really big interest in medical astrology. And of course, I can't practice medicine, but I can tell you this aspect that we have going on between now and February 20th. I mean, today is what, the 3rd. So this is literally, 17 days away. So this is probably one of the most powerful conjunctions I've seen in a ever. Why? Because we have Saturn and Neptune happening in the first Egyptian bound of tropical Aries. And I know a lot of people are Vedic and sidereal astrologers, which I am as well. But I would tell you the tropical system really seems to have an effect on the world. For instance, COVID broke out exactly on the tropical Saturn-Pluto conjunction. And we all know what happened there. 9/11 happened on the tropical Saturn-Pluto opposition. I could go back through time and just talk about these. Well, the one we've got coming up right now is February 20th. And actually today is the day Uranus is stationing and going direct. I don't know why my feed seems to have dropped out. There we go. I noticed my camera just dropped out. Must be the internet connection. But anyhow, so can you hear me good?
Yeah, but we're on the edge of our seats because we want to know what's going to be happening. I mean, these are
Uranus is stationing. Uranus is stationing right now as we speak, and it's going direct. It'll actually kind of skid to a stop today, and between now and the 5th, it'll actually go direct. Now you might say, okay, great, Jeff, what does that mean? Well, Uranus is heading back deep into the Pleiades. And if you've ever heard of the Seven Sisters, right, of the Pleiades, yes. This is the legend of Atlas holding up the sky, right? And the Seven Sisters, they call them Seven Sisters of Hades. But then there's another story where he sent them into the underworld to protect them. Well, they are the seven Pleiades stars. Mm-hmm. And the one that's going to be conjuncted really soon is going to be Alcyon. Now, the ancients always felt that the Alcyon star was the center, the galactic center that everything went around. And again, some astronomers dispute that, and I'm not here to say one way or another. The only thing I will say is every time that Uranus goes over the Pleiades and definitely hits Alcyon and other fixed stars, we've always had the world in turmoil. For instance, let me give you an example. Every 84 to 86 years, Uranus goes around the solar system. Well, the last time it happened, World War II. The time before that was the Civil War. The time before that was the Revolutionary War. The time before that, there was a Black Plague in Europe. It keeps leapfrogging back about every 84 to 86 years. And these are big events.
What are we going to say? Is it going to be like a big...
Well, I think the owners...
Or something more global? Okay. Like what?
Well, this is not the same as the last ones because you got to remember, I'm talking about two distinctly different but very volatile energies. One is the Saturn-Neptune conjunction that happens on the 20th of February. And then Uranus is going to start eking into the Pleiades deeper and conjunct Alcyon in May. Plus, right on the 23rd of this month, all the inner seven planets line up between the eclipse points. And you might say, what does that mean? Well, that's known as a Kalasarpa yoga. And just to give you an idea, often we see pandemics, we see very tumultuous things in the world happen when these alignments form. In fact, if you look at anybody looks at an astrology chart right now, they'll notice all these planets are in a tight arc, and then Jupiter and Pluto are off to the side. So very, very powerful.
But does it give you an indication of, is it going to hit in the health area, or is it going to hit in the
I think both.
Vegetation area? Where's it both?
Both. And I would love to be wrong here. And I'm not one to predict doom and gloom because I'm always optimistic. Even if I saw mushroom clouds, I'd still say, well, God still exists, right? So, but I don't think we're going to see mushroom clouds. I think we're going to see a lot of dissension. I think we're going to see increased polarization in the United States with this whole situation with ICE and the removal of all the immigrants that flooded in here. I also think we're going to see global unrest. And I know the situation with Iran, I don't think it's going to go away because, not only do we have this armada surrounding over there, but, if they go in, it's not going to be the same as Venezuela. I mean, Iran has a very deeply funded terrorist network that has been infiltrated all over Europe, and I think even in the United States. So this is very interesting because when you look at the top of the pyramid, George Carlin, the comedian, might have been right. Forget the politicians. You have owners. They own everything. And you start looking where the money flow comes. Look at all these NGOs and all this backdoor funding that's going on. Where does it all come from? Well, if you go up to the top of the pyramid, you can really say, who is these people behind the Federal Reserve, which really isn't any more federal than Federal Express. I mean, if you remember, it's
third one.
And Wilson rubber stamped that thing back in 1913. And ever since that, and they were the central bankers have always influenced things even prior to that. There's rumors that they were greatly influencing the Civil War. And this, of course, this is where all the taxation and the carpetbaggers came in and everything else. And I think they shot Lincoln too, because
that's interesting.
well, that's one of the theories, because they didn't want him to implement. It was only Lincoln and Kennedy who actually wanted to print U.S. Treasury bonds issued by the U.S. Treasury Department. And they both got shot, didn't they?
They did.
Yeah, they sure did. And now,
what about I don't mean to interrupt, but I know how people think, and we all are thinking the same thing about, okay, what is this going to mean for people in this country in terms of their finances, their ability to buy a home or pay for their groceries? I mean, these prices that we were left with after the last administration and the problems are overwhelming. But where are we going to end up as citizens of the United States through all of this? Are we going to be taken care of in a good way or taken care of in a bad way? What's going to happen?
Well, I think we're at a major change point in the structures of our whole governmental reality systems and financial reality systems. And there's many of your financial pundits are out there saying, "Oh my God, we're going to get a big, huge crash, and everything's going to go to hell in a handbasket." Gold is going to go to the moon, silver is going to go to the moon, which I do think is very likely to happen. I think gold and silver are going to keep on going.
Right. Okay.
So anybody who's got some, not a bad move. They're trying to squeeze out crypto. I've actually heard that Bitcoin may drop substantially coming up here.
Really?
Yeah, that's what people are saying behind the scenes. My take is, I think we're going to see restructuring. See, this Saturn-Neptune conjunction, which is literally, 17 days away. It's on the 20th. And from that point forward, I would not be surprised if we see the people at the top of the pyramid pull something very drastic. And this, it could be financial. It also could be another scamdemic. Did I say scamdemic? I meant pandemic. I'm sorry, I meant pandemic. They might.
Both.
Right.
It's Freudian slips. I can't help it, folks. But anyhow, but in all seriousness, I really think something is in the wind here, and it's going to be very mysterious what we see. It's very elusive because it's Saturn and Neptune. I get trouble. I really do. And I hope I'm wrong about that. Meaning riots, I get there could be a lot of unrest. This whole situation with Ukraine and Russia is far deeper than we know. We're not being told the truth.
No.
We're getting a little peek behind the curtain when we look at some of the Epstein documents. I mean, people think it's conspiracy theories when, they talk about sacrificial stuff, cannibalistic stuff, and really evil, crazy, demonic stuff going on. I hate to say it, and I wish I was wrong on this, but my take is it's true. And I think we're only seeing a very small glimpse of what's really going on. And this whole sick pedophilia thing, as well as the human trafficking, is beyond, it's actually beyond comprehension when you think about it. And it's exceedingly demonic. And not to bring this up, but I also think we haven't been alone. If you guys have ever seen the movie, The Age of Disclosure, the documentary that just came out, really, really good documentary. For anybody who hasn't seen that, you really want to watch that. And we met the director, and quite interesting at Hollywood Disclosure here. And what it is it's a bunch of people coming forward who are not only in the military, but are in the aerospace industry. They're in, design, and there are government officials. There are also, people in intelligence, all kinds of different areas of the government, as well as in the, you could say design industry. And they're all saying, listen, folks, not only have we been lied to, but that we're not alone, but we've been reverse engineering stuff for the last probably 80 plus years. And, it doesn't take much of a stretch to realize that you don't have people in the military lying when they say we are tracking craft out of underground bases all over the world. Two that come to my mind is, and I've seen stuff myself, right off Laguna Beach here in California, in between Catalina and Laguna Beach. There's a huge base underneath there. There's a portal. And there's another one off the coast not too far from Santa Barbara. It's in between the Channel Islands and Zuma Beach in Malibu. And I've seen so many craft out there over the years. And I know what I've seen. And I can tell, I used to track this stuff back in the mid 70s. My uncle gave me a telescope and I used to see all these different crafts and I could never understand why. I couldn't focus them. And I had a really good telescope. My uncle gave me this really nice telescope on a big tripod. And a physicist in the Age of Disclosure documentary explained why. He said, we are actually finding that they create a time-space continuum around these crafts. This is why they can do the maneuvers they do, because they're not subject to gravity as our crafts would be.
Right.
And they can also go underwater at extremely high velocities. I've talked to guys in the Marines who said, Jeff, we're tracking this stuff coming out of the water. He said, if we had any craft that would do that, it would obliterate. There's no way it would stay together under the forces of water, gravity, and acceleration.
Well, they can't hide all of this. And let's face it, PK and I have known about this stuff since we were little kids. And there was really no surprise for either one of us.
I want to be a little kid.
Yeah, but you're the same.
Look at the world.
Yeah, you're the same. I mean, we all know this. This is not news to us. It's just, to us, it's kind of funny to watch this ridiculous dance on the part of the government, giving us these little crumbs. Well, here's the Tic Tac thing, and here's these lights in the sky. It's like, so what? We knew about this so many years ago, and they're still acting like this should be big news. It's not. What we want to hear about is a little different than that, because we're tired of being slaves to this huge taxation nightmare when you see where the money's really going.
Yeah.
And
look at Venezuela. When they went in there, I've heard from credible sources, because I've got a lot of different clients, and they've told me, Jeff, X-Men is not that big of a fictitious thing. In other words, they've been engineering genetically super soldiers. They've been doing cloning, embryos underground. I've got a couple of clients that they can't say anything. They said this all classified, totally top secret. But they said you would not believe, we'll just say that, what is available. Trump even said that. He said, we have stuff no one's ever heard of. Exactly. And where are they getting this? Well, not only is it science and exploration, but I also believe it has come from our quote unquote terrestrial and extraterrestrial sources, because there's terrestrial.
Yeah,
absolutely. Now, somebody has a question for you. They want to know if you can remote view.
I have. That's, remote viewing is also connected to astral travel. And it's interesting. I was just listening to the telepathy tapes last night. And what an amazing set of tapes. And she was mentioning Dr. John Mack, who, I don't know if anybody knows who he is. He was a psychiatrist who was killed. And I actually sat with him, Camille and I and him sat up in Malibu, up in the hills on the cliffside talking. He was a really smart guy. So sad he got killed. He was, and mysteriously killed too. He was walking across the street in London, and then he did, like a Jack Black over the top.
Yeah.
But anyhow,
there was somebody else with the same name that was also run over. Was it that same day also? Because I know that was part of the mystery of this.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he we talked a lot about it. Can I remote view? Yes, but I do it a little differently. I'm more into the astral travel thing, and I also really like interrogation astrology. I've actually worked with a lot of remote viewers. I've had many different people over the years. In fact, this all started probably 25, 28 years ago. And I've had some groups have me do studies as to why remote viewers sometimes hit their targets right on, and other times they don't. And what we found was the time that they remote viewed had a huge impact on the celestial influences, meaning what was the moon doing? What were fixed stars rising and accumulating and setting? And also the cycles that people were in. I had a gentleman who was involved with some people over in India that we did a really interesting study too. And that was really quite interesting, because he would have me compare these different remote viewers and why their targets were right on, and sometimes they weren't. And we found it was an amalgam between the celestial positions and their personal interaction to that. So
interesting. That's very interesting. So let's go back to talking about what's going to be happening. What else should we be looking for? It sounds like there may be a mysterious illness that sweeps across the world.
I hope not. The owners are going to try something. They really want, I hate to say it, but we see this with Canada. It leaks out. There's two factions, in my opinion. One is and there are two Titan factions. One is the nationalists and one is the globalists. I've been saying this for a long time. The globalists want a microchip in your forehead. They want you to own nothing, and they want you to be happy about it, and be totally into a very sophisticated digital communistic world. It's almost like H.G. Wells. They want us like zombies and doing what we're told, right? And then there's the nationalists. Now, I can't say anything good about Trump because I'll get hate mail. But I can tell you what I think he's doing, whether you like Trump or hate Trump. He's fortifying and releasing things right now that were buried by the central bankers through the Congress in the mid to late 1800s. And that was all the mineral and energy wealth of the United States. He's opening that up. Cloward and Pliven were the two socialistic professors. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they released how communism can destroy democracy. Their first thing was create so much red tape, you can't get anything done. Sound familiar? Second thing is create uncontrollable debt that can never, ever possibly be paid back. Thirdly, uncontrollable flooded in immigration. Does that sound familiar to anybody?
Right out of the communist book,
I'm afraid we're there.
Well, that's what's been happening.
Yep.
And, the reverse lever is bring back manufacturing, open up the permitting, again, access to the mineral wealth of this country, which is formidable. Another thing I'm hearing, and I think it's about to happen, and this is part of this Saturn-Neptune, Alberta is negotiating right now with the Trump administration to become either a province or a state.
Isn't that unbelievable? I love it.
Two other ones are negotiating too. And I've been saying this a year ago. I said this on my podcast. Everybody said, "Oh, you're crazy. That's never going to happen." Don't be surprised.
No,
Jeff. What's going on? What do you think is going to be happening with Greenland? Are we going to end up with Greenland?
I think it's going to become a province. Yeah, I really do. I think it's going to ultimately happen.
Be successful with that. Yeah, we're going to get Greenland somehow.
Oh, and they were dancing on Trump's grave when he went over to what was that? The World Economic Forum, WEF, and look what's happening. Yeah. I can tell you, this is a very, very powerful time for America. Even though we've got these mundane things. When I say mundane, see, astrologers call that worldly astrology. That's another way to say it. So we've got some really dicey energies going on between now and August of this year. You're going to see it's going to be mayhem. But the United States, its own birth chart, and there's a lot of different astrologers who use different birth charts, but no matter how you slice it, these are called solar arc directions. They're very ancient primary directions. The Earth is a time machine. Literally, every day, all of us wake up, we see sunrise, we see noon, we see sunset, and we see midnight. And that really time, many of the yogis said, oh, the whole world's an illusion, right? And time's an illusion. And I always go, well, drop a brick on your foot, pal, and call me on the first of the month. It's not an illusion. But on the other hand, they're actually right, because the Earth is like a simulation of spirit into matter here. I mean, you think about the magic that happens in a mother's womb. They actually say the mother prepares a garment for the soul to experience time and space. And then it exits the womb and comes out into the world. Same like a seed. Seed goes into the womb of the earth and then it sprouts. And the magic of life is so divine. And what's interesting is the demonic forces. I think the Garden of Eden story and many of the ancient texts in the Vedas, in the Buddhist texts, the Egyptian texts, they all talk about a war in heaven, how God got ticked off and cast down the evil spirits. And I think the evil spirits are actually intertwined in atomic matter and deeper itself. In other words, when you look at creation, the Vedas, which is an amazing set of texts. I don't know if anybody's ever read the Vedas and the Rig Veda. These are ancient texts that come out of
I have the
even
whole
pre-India.
Yeah. But here's the thing, when you talk about
these back
this,
here, that's the Puranas back here. I got my coffee cup from. That's the
how does
Puranas.
this, but Jeff, how does this boil down for the average person? I mean, I know what our audience.
Well, it does, because everything on this planet, I'll tell you how it boils down to the average person. We're all living here in a dimension of duality. And this astrology that's happening this year is changing that reality.
Okay. Now,
see, that's the key. No, I'm not just getting into some random theology here. No,
I love this.
When you look at, when you look at the universe, they say God actually destroys all the universes. They claim there's 49 parallel universes and 49 subdimensions in each one. I can't even balance my checkbook, let alone figure that one out. But why am I telling you this? Well, it's because they say everything born under the heavens in the physical realms will be born, it will grow, it will mature, atrophy, and die on the physical elements. But the spirit and the soul lives on. And what's interesting about all this astrology is we see all the news and all the fighting and the mayhem and, all the crap that's going on, the wars. But really, it's in some ways, maybe all of us are getting our soul purified and rectified through all the insanity that we see. And then they say the soul actually goes up into other dimensions and remembers all the past lifetimes. And we get this aha moment, and creation never stops. They even say after the destruction of universes, you talk to a quantum physicist, they'll tell you, well, everything's Big Bang theory, right? Or no, it's contraction. Or maybe it's both. I don't know. But my opinion is that we are in a constant state of evolution, growth, destruction, and rebirth. And the human life is that way. Plant, animal kingdoms, and mineral kingdoms are all doing that. And right now, we're at a stage in this world right now with the Saturn Neptune where the reality structures are going to melt down. Look at, part of this is the internet. Look at all the information, Tartaria, UFOs, and all the hidden stuff that's beginning to surface.
Coming out. Right. It's coming out now.
It's mind-boggling. It's absolutely mind-boggling.
Astrologically, is this something that you can see in terms of when you run charts for this, that actually, this time is speeding up. The veil is almost translucent at this point. So we're able to access all of this information that's been hidden from us. Is that something that you see?
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I've been talking about. The Saturn-Neptune conjunction that's happening here on the 20th of this month. That's like a trigger. The ancients used to call them excitations, where, things would be bubbling along, and then all of a sudden you'd get a catalyst, and boom, shift comes in. I think this is I think we've been in a major change of consciousness growth ever since 2020. I remember I was on George Norrie's, God, it had to have been at least 15 years ago. And he says, Jeff, what do you think of the Mayan calendar? And I said, not a single thing. I said, I can't come up with nothing for the Mayan calendar. It's like, well, and I said, but watch out for 220. And why would I say that? Well, it wasn't my genius. I was just saying, hey, look, we have a Saturn-Pluto conjunction. Well, what happened in 220? Not only did we see schemy, scammy stuff going on in politics, but we also saw the pandemic. And that was designed, in my opinion, to just destroy Western civilization. And they also were on a just fast track to bankrupt this place. We also had a Saturn-Pluto conjunction, which is what they call a mutation conjunction. It hadn't happened for 240 years. And the United States had a Pluto return all from 220 to about 223, 224. To give you an idea what that one's about, the Roman Empire was destroyed on a Pluto return. It can only happen once every 250 years. It happens not exactly 250, and we're going to have the 250th anniversary, of course, of this country this year. Right. But the cycles of Pluto showed, I'm surprised the country's even here. I really am. I'm surprised it's even here. And we're north of $38 trillion in debt. I mean, that's staggering. If we didn't have what's happening right now, all of the mineral resources being opened up, manufacturing starting to be brought back in, I think we we would spin out and cease to exist. I mean, we'd become a third world country.
Yeah, we almost did that. We're almost there.
But it's turning around. It's turning around.
It is. Thank God. It is.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. It is a very exciting time, very tumultuous as you're describing, and we have more of that to look forward to. When is this all going to settle out? Is it going to settle out?
Start to see. Well, it never finishes. I mean, when you end one thing, to see like the next one
else drops in.
But it has been escalating. Like you were talking about all this anti-ice stuff, and we know that's deeply funded, and people are getting paid. I heard anywhere between $80,000 and up to go for a year to go around and cause all this disruption. But can we look forward to that coming to an end?
I think by this summer, yes. Another thing I think is going to happen is, and everybody, might roll their eyes at this one, but don't be surprised. Pam Bondi, I actually think she's going to figure out how to get these indictments going on a lot of things that were thrown out the court not too long ago. This thing with this whole Russiagate thing, the 220 election, all that. Don't be surprised if that is part of what happens as this all starts moving into spring here. I would not be surprised.
Right around the corner. That's exciting.
Yeah. I think we're going to see the twilight zone here. I really do.
So we're going to go back over some of these things that have been labeled conspiracy theories but are not. And I think I heard somebody tell me that, I did. Barron Trump came out with a post on X about you're going to be surprised about
that's what I said.
Arrested. And so it's going to be an interesting time. Yeah. So you see it also. Okay.
Oh, look at the fraud. I mean, look at the fraud. I mean, they talk about Minnesota. Forget Minnesota. That's
look at Massachusetts, for God's sake.
Look at California.
Yeah.
And California is probably
spades.
It's going to be bad. It's going to be really bad. If I were Newsom, I'd be definitely booking a flight to Mars with Elon Musk. And see, they all cover each other. This is all put in secret trusts and NGOs and LLCs and all this other stuff. It's very hard to catch these guys. It's and I think it's going to come unraveled. I think we're going to find so much fraud. See, this is what they want. They want to bankrupt America. They hate America. They hate it. They want a new one world order. They want barcodes on your forehead,
right?
DNA recognition everywhere. They want what China has is what they want here. That's exactly what they want.
Scary.
It is. It's
beyond scary.
But when we've talked to you before also, Jeff, about some really interesting aspects of who's really in charge. And you said to us, and I'll never forget it, it was a very profound statement you made. If you know their name, that's not who's in charge.
Yeah, that's not what it is. Yeah. Well, David, I'll tell you, if people are interested in this, I'll tell you a great resource. There's 2 books you can get. One you can't get too much anymore. They mysteriously swiped that off the market. But there's a book called The Great Taking by David Webb. If you just go to David Webb, WEBB, I believe it is, .com, he's giving people this book, or at least he was, free on a downloadable PDF. That book will scare the heck out of you. You think you own the socks that are on our feet? We don't. You think you own the chair we're sitting in? We don't. We are straw people. Like, if you have a birth certificate and a social security number, you are collateralized. And think about 38 trillion. That's only what we know. That's not just the black ops stuff. That's just what we think we owe in the US. Look at the entire Western nations. And what's interesting about this, I did a little math experience. I say this a lot. If you're 80 years old, you are just barely 2 seconds. You are just barely 2 billion seconds old. If you're 40 years old, you're 1 billion seconds old. It's not exact, but pretty close. Do you know how many seconds there are in 1 trillion seconds? 11,700 and something odd years. That I'm just saying that to give people a perspective. 1 billion seconds is just a little over 40 years old. 1 trillion seconds is 11,700 something odd years. That gives you an idea just to wrap your brain around what $1 trillion is.
Yeah, that's
and we're north of 38 trillion, and that's only what we know. Who's got that kind of collateral? These guys sit there. Now you talk about who's running this place. George Carlin said it best. He said, forget the politicians. You have owners. And now when you look at the Bank of International Settlements sitting over where? In Switzerland, Basel, Switzerland. They call it the Tower of Basel. There's actually a book called The Tower of Basel. If you can get it, that book will scare the hell out of you. And The Great Taking too, because what they want is they want massive, uncontrollable debt that you owe them. And guess what? They can call it then. And how are they going to do that? Well, now you've got to talk about the UN. Now you got to talk about other places that would enforce something like this. Well, the only way that would ever happen is you have a total implosion of a country. You see, and look at Europe right now. Tom Cruise just sold his condo in London. I had another client in London. He was buying some gems from me. And he said, Jeff, he says, I don't want to wear them. He said, I'll get a gun stuck in my face. So you know what I did? I made him a bracelet, a special bracelet, where it's all hidden underneath. Nobody can see it. And I shouldn't say that on the air. But people are really worried. And, what's going on in this country, again, we hear it's horrible when anybody gets killed. But I have to agree with what Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and Tom Homan said. What about the other people who are raped, murdered, and, these parents are losing their kids? I mean, it's not wrong. They literally flew for 4 years people into this country, gave them money, and they don't want to lose their voters. This is what it is. And I'm telling you, if they get this all passed, and I think they will, where you can't vote in California without a proof of voter ID citizenship, they'll never win again. I feel California is so rigged, it's not even funny.
And so is Massachusetts.
So is most places.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
I know. Somebody's asking about, do you see anything coming up around the Olympics?
I don't know. When is the Olympics?
In the next couple of weeks, I think.
Yeah.
I didn't know when that was. Yeah. I don't know. I can cast a chart on that. You can see I'm looking up at my screen here. Let me fire up a thing here, and I'll see. See, what I'm about to do is cast an interrogation chart. For anybody that doesn't know what that is, Western astrologers call it horary. The ancient Egyptians and medieval astrologers called it interrogation. It's not your birth chart. You literally just cast a chart for the moment, and you look at it.
Friday.
So it starts this Friday?
Yes.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's good to know. Tells you how much I'm up on that kind of stuff.
You just stay up on your astrology. That's all I care about.
Yeah, that
That's right.
applies.
That's right.
Okay, so what you're really saying is, will the Olympics go okay? Where's that at? Isn't that out here in the land of the fruits and nuts, California?
Fruits and nuts.
I have no idea where it is. Isn't that pathetic?
I don't know where it is. Yeah, I'll Google it in just a second. How will the Olympics go? Any trouble? It's basically what you're saying, right?
Yeah. They said it's in Italy.
Oh, it's in Italy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Wow, I thought it was here.
I didn't either till right now.
Well, let me see here. I would tend to say it's going to go okay. The moon is making a good aspect to Jupiter. Even though it's retrograde, there might be a little skirmishes, but it doesn't look like anything major. I would tend to lean towards it goes reasonably smooth. That's what it shows.
Okay, good.
So, yeah, it's in Italy. I didn't know that. Yeah, that's maybe why I didn't know. I thought they were doing it here somewhere.
The summer, someone just said it. Summer Olympics are in LA.
That's what I thought.
In 2028.
Oh, in 2028. Yeah, that's why.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me just see. So the Olympics right now, are the Olympics. I'm just typing that in here. Olympics this year. You are right. They're in Milan, Cortina, in 2026, held in Italy. Yeah, February 6th. You're right. So that's in 3 days from now. Well, if that's the question you're asking about, that looks like it's going to go pretty smooth. So
okay.
I would not expect anything. And I've heard the Prime Minister of Italy, she's pretty square-headed. She seems to be all right.
Yeah, she seems to be okay. So, what else do you see financially for people? I know you're not a financial advisor, but
Yeah.
you're saying crypto is going to may tank. Bitcoin, you said.
Well, yeah,
I'd like
and
to see it do that.
What are you
you know,
seeing?
crypto is
Gold you see going up.
well,
What,
XRP and things that run exchanges, I think, are going to be okay.
what
Um,
about what about copper and some of the other the rare earth stuff?
I'll
You
tell
see
you
that?
what, I have been hearing, and I've also cast charts for people. I think getting into minerals, mining, precious metals, and required metals like copper, barium, all these kinds of things
Mhm.
that I think is a really good move. In fact, I'm actually looking into stuff like that right now
Yeah,
because I think silver, even though it took a dip, remember it hit
Mhm.
110 and dropped,
yeah,
and
yeah,
that was because of the Fed, chair.
Mhm.
But I personally think the gold and silver, I think silver could easily hit $300-400 an ounce.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
So
Eventually, I think that's where it's going. Yeah, there's such a shortage. And then, secondly, gold. I mean, all these precious metals, you're seeing central banks buy up gold like it's
Yeah.
never going to exist tomorrow. I mean,
Yeah.
they're really pushing it.
yeah,
So, and silver becomes so viable for electronics and military stuff.
Mhm.
And we're going to see this huge push in AI keep going, which is kind of scary, I think.
Mhm.
I don't know that it's stoppable. AI,
Stop it.
my mind always races to Terminator. Remember that movie?
Oh,
And, I think in 10 years, it's going to be jaw dropping where it'll get. I don't think it's going to get there as fast as they say. We've been
Mhm.
doing some testing on AI, and I find it's not there yet. It's interesting, but it's not there. It doesn't have the logic a human being has. I mean, human beings are smart. We really are. And I don't think it's there yet. I think it'll get there eventually, but it's going to take a while.
Okay. So what about real estate? What's going to be happening in the real estate market? Is that a good investment for people?
I'd wait for it to come down a little bit more, but yeah, I think real estate is always a good move.
Mhm.
But I'm waiting for a nice little shaker out here in California so the rates come down where they should be.
Oops.
Which be
California's been
yeah.
horrible as far as funds go.
I'm going to plug this in before I disappear.
Even in Arizona, look what's happened. I mean, the Tucson area, Phoenix, it's just exploded.
It is. It's incredible because the average person can't even rent anymore. I'll get clients on the call and they're all upset because they can't stretch it that far any longer.
Yeah.
It's very scary.
Well, that's what I think. I think once we start getting past these midterms, see, this is another reason why they're going to create a lot of dissension here right now because of the midterms. They really don't want to lose at all. And I got to tell you, I think the Republicans are probably going to take dominance here by virtue of the fact of everything that's about to happen. See, one of the things that is not on the radar screen right now, I think there's going to be so many indictments and so many people roped into very deep legal troubles. Pam Bondi, I like her a lot. I think she's really got teeth. But the problem is, this is what Thomas Jefferson said. He said, watch the judicial system. That they can become so powerful that it actually stymies government, which has kind of happened. And this is a top-down funding. You follow the money where this is all going. And it's kind of creepy. This has happened many times before in America, where we have these forces pushing for dominance and destruction. And we're just coming out of that. And I think within the next year or so, that'll happen. I'm actually surprised. The indictments did happen, but the judges threw them over the shoulder and out the door they went. Now,
that doesn't make sense.
They're going to come back at it again. And I think they're going to come back stronger. Like even Bosenberg, they threw that one out too, just recently. And Congress is actually moving now to make votes on removing these people, impeaching them. So it's going to be interesting where all this goes this year, because there's going to be a massive push to try and get the House and the Senate on both sides. We're going to see this really be a tug of war here. And so far as I can tell, they're going to really push and do some crazy stuff. They're kind of out of straws. The key is going to be the getting rid of the voters who aren't legal citizens. This is why they were shipping everybody into this country and putting them everywhere and paying 3 meals a day in 5-star hotels, is because they wanted voters.
Definitely, and they got them for a while.
You bet they did. And here in California, I really think I could probably take a string of 26 elephants of different colors and have them all vote with me, and nobody would say a word. They would, oh yeah, come on in. So I'm like, really? Nobody questions, nobody asks anything, and pretty crazy. So
yeah,
this situation with ICE, there's so many people against it. What do you think is going to transpire out of that, the way things are going?
Well, I don't think they're going to stop. And I think the only way to stop the resistance is to get to the root of these NGOs and these backdoor funding people. That's what we're working on.
After, yeah.
Because these people are being paid to do what they're doing. They actually say so right on camera. Oh yeah, I'm getting paid.
Yeah, but the sad part was my granddaughter's in high school this year, and they're all upset. They're all excited because they were going to march against ICE, and I'm going, what? But the school, the town, whatever. Of course, Tucson is a little weird when it comes to things like that, anyway. But it's scary when they have got 14 and 15-year-olds thinking they have to march and they don't even understand what it's for.
That's right. It's just joining the crowd.
Yeah.
Well, that's why they're pretty smart. All you got to do is just get enough moving in front of them, and you're going to mind control the rest. Yeah,
and that's what's happening.
Yeah,
but they don't realize, some of these teachers, and they really are going to be in a lot of trouble, taking children off site, away from the school. It's called kidnapping. It is illegal unless you have parental permission. And I just saw a father talking about this. He's going to be filing charges because he went to the school. His daughter's not there. Where is she? The teacher took them, and out they are protesting ICE. It is abhorrent.
Yeah. Well, you bet. And I mean, when you look at, not only do you have that, look at the influence in the media, the talk shows. I always talk about Johnny Carson. Johnny Carson went out of his way to say, I would never use my show as a platform for political forums. I mean, if you turn on The View, Stevie Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel bits, that's all you hear. That's not humor. That's propaganda made to be humorous, and it's not even humorous.
Right.
We have literally a machine that's overwhelming the populace, and it's mind control. It's literally mind control.
I can't believe how people listen to some of the crap that they have to say.
Well, Harry Truman actually passed something called the Smith-Mundt Act, and that act was to stop propaganda in any of the news media, especially psyops type stuff. Well, guess who removed that one? Mr. Obama.
That's right. He did.
They threw it out the window. So I don't understand why Trump doesn't reinstate that.
I think he was trying to. I think he was trying to, from what I read. But Jeff, I want to make sure everybody knows how to contact you, because we're about to wrap for this show. And
I don't mean to make it all political, but that's what the astrology is showing.
Yeah, it's in the stars. So that's why we have you on to talk about all these things. Uncensored.
The country, I'm surprised it's still here after a Pluto return. Again, when you look at Rome, the Roman Empire fell on the second Pluto return. The United States just had its first. So maybe it'll last another 250 years. We'll see.
I hope so.
It'd be good.
Yeah. If people want to listen to me, the best way is to go to Jeff at jeffharman.com. That's my website. That's Harman. The other way is my podcast, which is Jeff Harman Astrologer. So you can always find me on YouTube. One of these days, I want to get off of YouTube. But for right now, because they're going to censor me sooner or later. They're going to shut me up somehow. And I can't even say it.
What if somebody wants their own reading? How do they arrange
Jeff at jeffharman.com. That's my website, and you can come in. I spend a lot of time with people, and I prescribe gems, and I really look at your cycles. Location astrology is a huge one that people really enjoy. And
yeah, you work with some beautiful gems, and you sent us some lovely pictures. Amanda, can you put some of those pictures up of the gemstones that Jeff? That I want one.
Yeah, that was a wedding ring. Oh, this guy wanted a guitar pick. I actually modeled that right out of a guitar pick. I had a friend of mine that passed away. I did another guitar pick. I put his angel on there. In fact, you can actually see, I don't know if you have some of the pictures with the inscribing of the angel on it, but it's really cool stuff.
Yeah. We had a little crown somewhere. Amanda, do you have a crown that you put that one up? And
these are the simple pendants, which I like a lot.
Now, when people are wearing look at that.
Yeah, see, that one, you could, if you count from the top right down, there's 7 letters. Those are the 7 inner planets of your birth chart, and the last 2 on the upper left is the suffix of Aleph Lamed, which means in Aramaic and Hebrew, El. So all angels end like in Raphael, Gabriel, Michael, right? A lot of people know Michael. So this is actually that person's guardian angel, or you could say the angel that is formed from the birth chart. And here's what's interesting. I actually supply delineations that shows where your soul root might be attached to. And it shows tribes that you might be attached to, certain phrases in the Bible. It's all cryptology, it's numerology. And all of this was eliminated by our fine bearded men in Rome somewhere around the 1st through 3rd centuries. They just neutered it. See, and you can only get that in the ancient cryptology of the Aramaic.
Now, Jeff, how much can we ask does something like that cost? That's a gorgeous piece of jewelry, but it's also so powerful and important to somebody's path. So that's a work that goes into that.
Well, I said each gem astrologically to not only the planet that rules it, but it also is set to the person's birth chart. So a lot of people complain, Jeff, what's taking so long? It's taking you, a month or two. And I said, because I'm waiting for a good astrological time to set it to your birth chart. So, and then it becomes a talisman. This is what the ancient kings and the queens and the pharaohs did. And then I give people instructions on how to cleanse it 3 times with spring water, incense. You pass it above a candle and you place it on an angelic square that's specific to each gemstone. And you charge it with a prayer known as a mantra. So your third eye chakra emits thought form elementals. This is why Reiki and healing, and you can feel people, when they talk, some people are very pensive. And that's the elementals that are being emitted. That's what Dr. Emoto was showing in the water when he froze the petri dishes and showed that positive thoughts had a very sacred geometrical shape. And negativity or anger always looked like gobbledygook. So thoughts are literally things, and you charge the gemstone with that. So gems, a lot of people say to me, well, geez, Jeff, I can get a gem anywhere. Well, you got to be careful. Many gemstones today are what we call lab grown. Now, if you want a beautiful looking gem, go buy a lab grown gem. But if you're buying it for energy, you might as well walk out on the porch and light your money on fire. In fact, my partner is at the Tucson Gemstone show as we speak, and also my friend who does the laboratory work. And we find so many gems are heat treated, they're irradiated, and people say, well, why would they do that? Well, darkens the color, lessens the illusion. I bust them all the time. They'll say, oh yeah, I can sell you this gem for this, and I go, well, but it's heat treated. Oh, you want a natural one? No problem, but it's going to be this much.
Yeah, exactly. More for natural. Now, there's so much work that goes into. There's so much work that goes into each piece that you do. So I would imagine it is expensive. Like that last piece that you showed, the gold with the Hebrew letters, is remarkable. That is absolutely.
Oh God, you should see the stuff I do. I mean, for 35 years, I could show you.
But now, how much does something like that cost?
Well, that's 24 karat gold. So that's pretty expensive right now.
Yeah, that's gorgeous.
The gems is really where the expensive is. That I think that emerald was right around probably $4,200. The yellow sapphire that was in there was probably somewhere in that same range.
Beautiful. Wow.
See, there's the yellow sapphire there too.
Yeah.
We that ring. It's a beautiful ring. And it really comes down to the clarity and the carat weight of the gem.
Right.
I've seen rubies go for, $5,000. We actually sold one ruby many years ago for $350,000 for a 3 carat. I've seen rubies go for like $3 to $4 million. It depends on what you're buying.
But this is like medicine. When you do a piece of jewelry like that, that's really like medicine for that person, isn't it?
Yeah. People ask me, does the gem have power? And ironically, I say, no, the gem doesn't have power at all. It resonates power. It's like a tuning fork. See, the theory is the angels commensurate with the planets actually have a lot to do with forming these in the earth. This is why natural gems are so important. So when you wear a gem, you're literally resonating that energy. Because think about it, if it did have power, it'd be like a battery run out. But that's why gems never run out, because they're like a tuning fork. They're vibrating to that planetary energy. So you can actually
what do you use, Jeff, when you choose a specific gem for someone? You use their birth information or what?
Yes. What I do is I take their Vedic birth chart, and you can see the yogas. You want to strengthen certain planets in the birth chart. And there's also certain gems you don't want to wear. Like I see certain people, if they wear that gem, they'll get malefic energy. So like me, I cannot touch a blue sapphire. Why? Because I have Saturn aspecting my moon. But I love yellow sapphire. I love emerald. See, everybody's different. And you can actually like tweak the chart. You can actually enhance certain elements in your chart. There's also time periods we're all in. They're known by Vedic astrologers as doshas. Dosha just means time period. So you want to wear the gem that the dosha you're in for that duration. And then there's other gems you always want to wear. And then there's some gems you want to strictly avoid. So everyone is unique, and you have to assess that through the birth chart. I do a lot of that. It's really fun.
It is, and it's really powerful work. And Jeff, thank you so much for getting here. And despite everything that has gone on with your Indian motorcycle.
I got lane splitting because I wouldn't be here otherwise. That's one thing I love about California: weather and the lane splitting. You can, on a motorcycle, you can actually lane split.
That's right. You can do that. Did you know? And of course, that Indian motorcycles were made here in Massachusetts.
Everybody loves Harleys. My grandfather. I got to show you a picture. Can I share the screen?
Yeah, I don't know, but we have to rep.
You got to go. Anyways, my grandfather, my first motorcycle was in 1968. That'll give you an idea what's wrong with me. So, but he brought that down the stairs. And
I already asked Camille. She told me.
Yeah, he and my dad, they brought me a little whizzer motorcycle down the stairs. That was it. I was done. After that, I just fell in love with it.
Yeah. How can you not? Well, Jeff, it's been delightful as always. It's so powerful having you here and putting us in touch with all of these things. So thank you, everybody, too, who's welcomed us back this evening. And we're going to have to come back. There's so much going on. We're going to have you come back and update us. And, of course, now everybody's interested in the gems. So we're going to have to talk about that again in depth.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Well, thank you.
You bet.
Yeah, so look, everybody, we'll be back. We're going to be back every week like we used to be with another great show. And next week, it's all about ghosts. So get ready. I know it's not Halloween, but it doesn't matter. There's still ghosts, and we will be talking about them. So next week, we'll see you then. And until then, we'll see you on the Blue Highway. Good night, everyone.